Hi guys, it's me again, Yele of Yele Stitches. Yele Stitches is a female fashion brand that makes female dresses and accessories. I'm not showing my face today because you people have not been complimenting me for the past few days. I'm just joking. Alright, so today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a basic sleeve pattern, and I'm also going to cut it on the fabric and show you how it is done. The first thing you're going to do is to measure your sleeve cap height. I'm using 4 inches because that's an average for almost everyone. You could use 4.5, you could use 3.5, but I'll use an average of 4 inches because that should work for most people. And then I'm going to connect the 2 lines of my 4 inches sleeve cap height. After connecting that, I'm going to measure the width of my sleeve, and I do that by calculating shoulder divided by 2 plus 0.5. You have to use the same measurement that I used for my basic bodice pattern to do it. If you do not use the same measurement or the same method, please don't use this. It's not going to work for you. You can watch that video. I'm going to place the link above me or below me. I don't know yet where I'll put it, but I'll put it somewhere. My shoulder length is 14.5, divided by 2 is 7.25, and I added 0.5, so that's 7.75, and that is the width that I measured from top to bottom, 7.75 width of my sleeve. Then after that, and I connected those 2 lines. After that, I'm going to draw 2 diagonal lines across. That is from one end to the other end, or from the fold to the open parts. I'm going to draw 2 diagonal lines across. The reason why I'm doing this is to get a midpoint, a fast and maybe more precise midpoint of my sleeve. Now, before we move on with what is going on with our diagonals, suspense, I'm going to first of all measure my biceps. That is, I want to show you how to make your sleeve pattern for a short sleeve first before going to a long sleeve. Now my beautiful superpower bicep is 11 inches. Now I'm going to divide 11 inches into 2 because it's a round sleeve and our sleeve is folded into 2. So I'm going to divide that round sleeve into 2, and my sleeve length is 8 inches. The sleeve length, that is from the top of my shoulder to where the biceps stop, is 8 inches. And then my round sleeve is 11 inches. I forgot and I had to remeasure again, don't mind me. Anyway, divided by 2 is going to be 5.5 inches, and then this 5.5 inches you're going to connect from the end of your diagonal line to where the sleeve stops, or where the bicep of my sleeve, the short sleeve, stops. So I'm going to draw a slant line to join both of them together, and that is going to be my short sleeve. Now, if I was making a short sleeve, that was where I was going to end, right? I'm going to just close it right there. So my short sleeve will be from the top down and to the right. Okay, that is if I wanted to make a short sleeve. And now I'm going to show you if I wanted to make a long sleeve. The length of my long sleeve is 24 inches. Now I'm going to measure my wrist circumference. Now, do not measure your wrist circumference too tight, because you will not be able to pull it out of your hand. But if you make it free enough for your hands to be able to come out of the tape rule, then it is correct. Now my wrist just on my tape rule, but it's fine. The tape rule is hold. Now the wrist circumference that is free is 8 inches. Divided by 2 is going to be 4 inches. Now I'm going to mark 4 inches and then join it to my bicep. Do you see that? I'm just going to join it. Instead of starting from that edge down, I'm going to join it from my bicep. Do not start from the top down, or else your sleeve is going to be way bigger than it should be. So I'm starting from my short sleeve and down to the end of my paper, and I'm going to smooth in that sharp corner. This is me smoothing it in, so you see that it is smoother, and it goes from the top to the bottom, and that's a wrap. You saw what I did there. Okay, so now we are going back to the main where I stopped my suspense. We are going to measure the middle from our mid diagonal point to the edge or the fold of your paper. Now the middle is 2.25 for me, and I'm going to go up by 0.5 inches or 0.75 inches, but I did 0.5 inches because I don't trust my tape rule right now because of that tear. So 0.5 is safer. From your fold, you go in by 1 inch, and then you connect it from that 1 inch to your 0.5, and then from the 0.5 you connect it to the end of your diagonal. You could use your free hand instead of using the curve. This curve self is giving me a headache. Trying to get the perfect curve is another matter entirely, but you can use your free hand if it is going to be easier for you than the curve. I'm trying to be fancy, that's why I'm using the curve, you know, fancy tailor, you understand what I'm saying? But it's looking good anyway. So you see that I got my curve from the edge, or from 1 inch from the edge of my fold down to the other side. Now I'm going to cut it out. That is my back sleeve pattern, or back sleeve, you know, whatever English that we want to use, but that is the back sleeve that I just cut. So I'm cutting out my pattern. The video has not ended. Don't stop here and say you want to move on with your sleeve. The sleeve has not ended though. This is just for the back. We are still going to draw the pattern for the front. Okay, so I'm going to open my pattern now. After opening my pattern, now I'm going to label it. That is for the back. Now we are going to do for the front. If you want a perfect sleeve, you follow these rules and regulations. If you didn't want a perfect sleeve, then you can continue and don't follow. Anyways, you find the middle of the other diagonal line. I'm going to use the same 2.25 because both of them are equal. I found the middle. Then you go down from that middle by the same 0.5 inches that you went down on the other side. Then you draw a curve that passes from the middle. Go, you're not going in by 1 inch. From the middle to the middle of your diagonal. So many middles. And then it will pass again to the 1 inch. The 0.5 inches down that you went on the middle of the sleeve, and then to the edge. You see, I used my free hand because the curve was giving me a dig. I cannot let one fancy curve to be making me waste my time on sleeve, but it is what it is. It's fine. You can still be fancy like I am, but we use hand, yeah. All right, so from that edge, from the midpoint to the middle of the diagonal, and from the middle of the diagonal to the end. So I'm using my marker to make it more obvious what I did. So you see the way it's scalloping. Yeah, it has to scallop like that for it to fit your front pattern. Like I said, if you want to use this pattern method, you have to use my basic bodice pattern method that is in my previous video. If you don't use that pattern, or you don't use something very similar to that pattern, this sleeve might not work for you. Please use that pattern. This is also my way of campaigning for you to watch my video. Yes, I want you to watch my video. This is my campaign. Anyway, so that's the front, that's the back. You can see the difference between the front and the back side of your sleeve now. I hope you get it. And now I'm going to cut it on my fabric. Remember, I used my pattern first, so I didn't put any seam allowance on my pattern. I'm going to reflect the seam allowance on my fabric. So I placed my pattern on it. Yes, so the folded side will be on the 4 fold, because I folded my pattern into 4 because I want to cut the front and back sharp. I don't want to waste time and be cutting it one sleeve and one sleeve, so I want to cut the 2 sleeves at the same time. So I put the fold of my pattern on the 4 folds of my fabric. Now here we are going to put our seam allowance. At the top, you are going to put 0.5 inches seam allowance round at the top, because when you join your sleeve to your dress, you're going to need 0.5 to sew those parts together. So I put 0.5 inches allowance round the top. Now by the side, I'm using 1 inch seam allowance from the top to the bottom. I'm using 1 inch because we don't want something to happen and then our sleeve will be too tight for us. So I'm putting 1 inch round, just in case you want the sleeve to be freer or you want it to be tighter or whatever. We're just giving room for any mistake or any freeness or tightness that you want the sleeve to have. So remember, 0.5 at the top, and by the sides you're going to put 1 inch round. Now at the bottom you are going to have 1.5 inches allowance, because you're going to fold your fabric into two, most probably. So for that you're going to leave lots of space, and you're going to have 1.5 inches allowance at the bottom. You can put 1 inch, but let it not be less than 1 inch. So 1 inch to 2 inches even, you can put it at the bottom of your sleeve. Now I'm going to join everything together. Remember, the seam allowance that I'm using is for the back, because the back is much more than the front sleeve, if you understand what I mean. The back is straighter than the front. The front has more scallopy, you know, the scalloping that I showed you. That's why I'm using the back first. Then when I cut out the back, then I'm going to use the back of the other side to cut the front. I don't know if my English, you're understanding it like that, but I'm going to show you and you're going to see how it looks. All right, so I'm going to cut out the fabric now using my pattern, as you can see. Okay, so now I'm going to open up my fabric. Oh, this fabric is beautiful as usual. You know, I have eyes for fine fabrics. I can't shout. If you need fabric plug, you can send me a message. I will, you know, let you know how I get my fabrics. But the secret is very simple. It's aliexpress.com. But I'm the one that Sha told you, Sha. But if you want to know, don't let me know. I'll tell you. Let me be serious. All right, so you see me using the front pattern to cut out the sleeve on the other side. Do you see that? So one side is the back pattern and the other side is the front pattern. The reason why I went down is because, of course, there's a 0.5 inches allowance, and I don't want to cut out my allowance from my fabric. So you see that one side is the front, and I'm labeling it now front, so I don't make mistake and put back for front. This is the front pattern, and the other side is the back pattern. That's the end of my tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment below. Comment. Bye.